It's 3 swear words per tire.
Okay, okay.
That's all.
That's good.
That's all you get. That's all you get. It's how to change a tire, 3 swear words or less.
All right.
And I'm going to just jump out of the picture here.
All right. So, has anyone used one of these machines before? All right. Dan, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just once and that one.
So most everybody here is new to this. So I'll go as deep as I can. So we'll start with a tubeless tire because they're easier. And I guess the main thing about these tire machines, it's a machine because it's not automated, but it's still a machine because it's helping us do some work. You just want to be careful not to hurt yourself or hurt your rim. The tire you can hurt, but you can't really hurt it, so not to worry about that. But you know, this thing's heavy, and if you're not careful, you might do. So everything's big and heavy and clunky, and this thing can get in the way, you know, dang and crack on your rim and chip paint and it becomes messy. So just be careful while we're playing around.
Let's go.
All right. So let's see. It's been a long time since I've actually used one of these guys. But first,
Daniel, you can assist since you've struggled with
I have blood I
recently.
can shed.
so the first thing you got to do is remove the valve, the valve from the valve stem. And I just happened to find a valve core remover or a valve remover, but it helps to have a decent valve stem wrench, which you may or may not have seen. Do we have one? Oh, there we go.
Four-way.
That is exactly what we want. So that's what we're removing so that the air comes out of the valve easily. Don't lose that because we'll need it later. All right, so we're going to break.
That just unscrews with one of these tools.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does everybody know how to use one of these tools?
I don't.
All right, so we're going to demonstrate. Get the valve back out of here.
It's lost now.
Deep in my pocket.
We need to get some extras too, Matt. Extra stems, that way you can do.
Yeah, these are good to have. If you spot one on the ground, pick it up and save it. Because sometimes you'll find that they're corroded, and that can be the source of an air leak. Just that little guy right there. And the way that it works is like that. And it seals on that little rubber disc in there. Like that.
Wee little thing holds in all the
Right.
pressure.
Tommy?
That's a little frightening.
See that?
Don't worry, air pressure
That's
is
where it's
important.
Yeah. So if you have a slow leak, a lot of times this is the culprit.
Yeah, you did.
Comme ça? Is that too close? Anyway, you guys have seen this, right?
Yeah. Can't see
All
my
right.
reading glasses anyway.
So a lot of times you can remove it and clean that surface off where that orange rubber is, and that can solve your problems. So anyway, when we're removing that, this wrench engages like this. See that?
Okay.
All right. Okay. So I've removed that, and I'm going to put it somewhere where it won't roll away. Over there. And we need to unseat the bead from the rim, and I'll show you what I mean when I put this tire up here. Is there
More plasticky bits?
Yeah. I'm going to try to do it without scratching the paint on my rim.
Want a pad?
If there is a pad.
Yeah. Right here.
How about another tire on the
Oh, I see. What I'm looking at is that right there. But if I do this far enough back, I don't think it'll be a problem.
I can put something on there for.
So that's how you unseat the, yeah. Even if it's just a wad of tape.
Yes.
But any of the sharp angles on these machines, they'll scratch your rim, and you know, if you can avoid it, it's best. So I've just taken the first step. Is everybody clear on that? To make it easier on myself, I'm going to remove the bead. I'm going to unseat the bead on both sides. Sometimes you can get away with just doing one side, but since this machine is here, we can do both. All right. So obviously, keep your fingers out of here because this is a lot of leverage. And when you hear that kaput sound, it means the bead
And you're
is
pushing fairly hard.
Pushing.
You're pushing fairly hard.
yeah, fairly hard. And I don't know if you guys, did you all see how the rim was sitting here?
Yeah.
All right, so this lines up with the tire. Not, you know, we obviously don't want to, you want to miss the rim when you're doing this.
You only do it in one spot? You don't do it in like
I don't
a
do
few
it all the
spots?
way around because once you've done it in one spot, it all comes off pretty easily. So see how it's still on here, but it comes off.
Oh, you're a tire changing machine.
You can certainly use that all the way around if you want, but I find it easier, and I'm always very worried about scratching rims because in the past it's always been somebody else's rim. And I've scratched some rims, and it's a real pain in the butt when you have to tell a customer that it's going to be another week before their tire change is ready because you're going to have to paint the wheel for them.
I thought you told me black permanent marker works good. That's true, he did tell me that.
Well, you're right. Well, these mark? So the way this thing works is it's a vise for the wheel, and these slots are for different sized wheels. So I don't know, they're not marked. So
It's in the manual that comes with it. It says what size.
all right, we should probably mark those. Put a piece of tape on there. 16, 17, 18, etc. So what I'm doing here is I'm hooking the edge of the rim in these slots, right? And again, it's a great way to scratch your rim. It feels like that's going to be way too wide.
Does it matter if it's brake disc up or down? If there's
So-
only one on one side?
It doesn't really matter. One thing I do when I'm doing rear wheels is to put the sprocket side down, because when you're working in here, if you slip, you don't want to scratch your hand on
Okay.
the sprocket. It does a lot less damage if it's on the rotor.
Okay.
It still hurts, but it's a lot less bloody.
But on the front, it doesn't matter, really?
Yeah, because there's two rotors usually. So if it's only one rotor, rotor down.
Okay.
The less stuff in the way, the better. And also with these big honking parts, you know, the less damage that you can do, the better. All right, so that's pretty much where we want it. So now this back set of forks, we'll call them, is going to hook onto the rim like the front ones, but it's going to tighten down on the rim and hold this thing in place theoretically.
And it looks
So-
like you're torquing that down pretty hard because
Yeah,
you're
pretty
going to have to
hard,
use the
because-
machine to rotate it.
I don't want it to rotate. If it
Right.
rotates, it's going to scratch my rim. It's
Right.
also going to, these are going to mark my rim. I'm pretty sure there's going to be some marks on my rim, but this is old rim of mine I'm not really concerned about. But you may want to put a rag down on top of each one of those hook deals, or maybe we'll cut some tube and work that over somehow.
Did it come with a little rubber cornery thingy?
Yeah, but it doesn't hit the whole thing. It,
Yeah.
it needs better than they shipped it with.
Right,
Yeah,
and what it's doing is it's protecting the visible part of the rim. Where it's going to mark is kind of underneath.
Right, right on the edge.
Yeah, it's not that big of a deal, but if you're concerned about the cosmetics of it, watch out. So we're going to lube this baby up, and you can do it before you get it on here or not. I think it's easier if it's all mounted up to the machine. And you can use, some people get really messy with this. I try to keep it minimal. But this is going to help us with the big tool.
Do you use soap and water, or do you use lube?
You can use anything that's slippery, really. The issue with lube is that on a race wheel, if there's too much lube on the rim and the guy goes right out onto the track, well, the tire can spin on the rim.
Right.
I don't think we're going to get it to do that right now, but with rear wheels, that's typically where it happens. Front wheel, I guess it could happen under braking, but yeah, see, that's not really that tight.
What's this wheel off of?
It's for my 998. All right. So here's where I don't remember. Let's see. All right, so this guy is for removing the rim. This guy is for removing the tire. This is for installing the tire. Both have plastic covers. You can do without them if you prefer, but again, it's going to help keep the damage to a minimum if you use it. So we're going to press down on the tire so that I can get that thing hooked under the edge of the tire. So that slides nicely over that. And then we're going to put that down in place. So I'm adjusting this so that this tube is just off the wheel. It doesn't have to be touching the wheel, probably shouldn't be touching the wheel. But this is going to give us leverage to remove the tire from the wheel. So if I didn't lock this down and I was to yank on this, this at some point is going to fling upwards, and this is going to come free and I'm going to fall on my ass. So most important part of this is to lock this thing in place so it can't come back up. So, everybody see that?
Yeah.
All the way down, not just kind of sitting there, but all the way down. Now we're ready to go. Easy peasy. All right, so now the top is off. Still won't come off the wheel though, so. Now I'm going to reach all the way under to the second bead. Same thing. There we go. Pretty easy, straightforward.
Didn't even swear once.
Not yet. Not
No
yet.
spoons involved.
All right,
Yeah,
so let's
zero
see.
swear record. One.
Scratched it pretty good. But again, it's all on the underside, so technically it's not that big of a deal, but
And can you tell us what's the problem with scratching it, or then if we can?
if it does happen, there's no problem. It just doesn't look great.
It just doesn't look good.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's
But-
just cosmetic.
Yeah, it's just cosmetic, and
You
these.
can't damage the frame yourself.
Yeah, you can't really damage the wheel itself unless maybe you didn't have this really tight and it were to slide around and gouge the
Good to know.
aluminum.
Good to know. It's cosmetic.
Yeah, mostly cosmetic.
Because we have black paint up here. If anybody.
Good, yeah, and the other thing about, if it's a steel rim, it doesn't really do it any good to be exposed to the elements, so put some paint on it. I guess the same with aluminum, magnesium, any of them, paint them. All right, so we've removed the tire. We could just put it right back on. So sometimes you can get away with, I like to use the machine as little as possible. And you can, in fact, install the tire without using the lever. So, and this is how you do it. The first step is to get the tire on the rim. And a little force goes a long way, like that. Right? So it's on there.
All right.
Now it might come back off, but probably not. Yeah, I mean, I could. So it does come off on its own. These are slicks. They're a little bit more malleable than the street tire. So this is a little bit easier than installing a street tire on a really cold day. Something that really helps is to put your tire out.
We're obviously working with a tubeless tire.
Yes, tubeless is way easier. Something to, if you got time and it's sunny out, put the tire in the sun, gets it a little bit more malleable, and it's a lot easier to work with. A lot less swear words.
What's your preferred method if there's a tube involved?
So we're going to do that.
Yeah.
We're going to do that. We're saving the hard stuff for last. But when you go back on, you can easily put the tire on the rim, the first part of the tire on the rim, like that. So it's on. Now, with a soft tire like this, you really could do the whole thing. So what I'm going to show you is how to do this, but also it kind of demonstrates what's really going on here. So the tire is meant to fit inside of the rim's bead. So this part of the tire, right, fits onto this part of the rim. But as you're installing the tire, it's easiest if the bead slips into the center channel of the wheel, because it gives you more room on the other side of the way you're working. So right now, on this side of the wheel, I have the tire all the way into this part of the channel, so that I've got a lot of space over here. That's why it goes on very easily. So that being said, I could walk this around the rim if I keep this down in the channel, this side down in the channel, right? Does that make sense, everybody? We'll go. So if you're installing tires for somebody's MV Tamburini, you probably want to install them this way. That way you're sure you're not going to fuck them up.
Oh, that's one.
That's more swearing with the tire, not at
We
the
didn't
tire.
qualify. We
That
didn't
was just
qualify.
normal conversation. All right, so there it is. It's on there, right?
It's on.
So we're going to go through this
12.
one more time. Does somebody want to give it a try? Sure. All right, come on up. So we've already unseated the bead, so you don't have to do that. The first step is grab that guy, and right about here, you're going to try to pull this part of the tire over the rim. So hook it like other side, that side, yeah.
This kind of
Right?
just
Take them
like this.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Got it. Okay. This needs to go on the back side. There you go. Right. Good. Got it. Nice. Easy. All right.
Yeah, Reed.
Oh, yeah.
Bada bing.
This is easy.
All right, so if we didn't use our hands, we're going to put this thing back on. you would, you gotta kind of start it. Let's see. So you go as far as you can until it becomes difficult. Not there. And then so, this top part here, we'll call it the knuckle, needs to be against the bead of the tire, all right? Over here, you're gonna put a hand right there on the tire so that when I move this around, it doesn't just walk around. This is gonna pop off if I'm not holding it. All right, now
This is where the swearing
the reason why I'm
traditionally
having difficulty is because the bead of the tire is sitting up in the rim. So if I push it down, it'll be a lot easier here on the other side.
You wanted to start with that.
Right.
So the machine is there to make it more difficult?
She did it quite easily.
You can really get a gusher
Right.
this way.
All right. So,
Yay!
and that part of it is probably the trickiest. So it just takes getting a feel for it, and you could see I was using two hands, because if I just did it with one hand, this might want to rotate like that and pop out. So you got to kind of just watch it. And what you're watching for is what happened there when it popped out is the knuckle was, I guess it wasn't up against the rim of or the bead of the tire. Do you want me to repeat that?
No, can we seat it? Is it the next thing we do?
So yeah.
Now, when you change your tires, do they have the same type of machine?
You usually have a pneumatic deal that does this a little bit more automated. But yeah, some places still have this thing. I know at Monroe's we have this for a long time. Gives you more control than the other ones. The other ones, if they're crappy, they can do a lot of damage, and the good ones are quite expensive. So I kind of like this. You just have more control. You know, as soon as you hit the button or press the pedal or whatever it is, it's kind of up to the machine not to fuck up your rim. Two. All right. So not too bad. All right, so we got to put the valve stem back in.
So that's it for just fixing the tire on the
rim. That's it. Pretty simple, right?
You don't have to like seat it properly so that...
No, we're going to seat it with air.
No,
Oh, so
that's
you
all
close it
that's
out?
what I need, right?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So if you
Don't travel away yet.
this
I heard you were supposed to do that with starting fluid in the lighter.
you could do that, right? Or whatever you got, some solvent or some hairspray. But that does work actually.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you in a pinch, you just squirt some
Yeah? Cool.
hairspray or anything, solvent or whatever, down the inside the wheel, and you light it, and boom, it'll
I can
seat the
justify
bead.
it on my camping trips!
So when I'm seating a bead, like here, this air compressor doesn't pump out a whole lot of air. So the thing though is that this tire will seat quite easily. But if it were to give us problems, you'd want to remove this, remove the valve, because the rush of air through the hole is really what seats the bead. If this is in there,
It's
it's
slowing
not
it
as
down.
much volume of air going through the hole, and therefore there's not as much force to pop the bead out. In this case, we're going to put it back in, no big deal. But if for some reason you're having trouble seating a bead, try it that way. And then, obviously the air is going to rush right back out, but at least the bead will be seated, and you can then put your valve back in the stem and fill it full of air. Accurate at all?
No,
Okay.
that thing, it's totally screwed.
Yeah, it's Home Depot
Is
rivet.
that a normal sort of pop-up?
Yeah.
Wow, good to know.
Great sound, isn't it?